Hello, listeners. Welcome to season 2 of the Masters Decoded podcast. I am Manish Merchant, the chief decoder. I want to thank you for the overwhelming response to season 1. Your feedback and encouragement led me to bring you season 2 of the Masters Decoded. The season will tap into how technology, artificial intelligence, and other socio-economic factors have impacted my guests' careers or passions. My next guest on today's episode is Taarini Kaur Danga. Taarini is a high school girl, a venture capitalist, Forbes writer, TEDx speaker, and woman empowerment champion. She is the youngest VC in the world. She is the founding and managing partner of a venture capital firm called Brave14 Capital, where she has raised $870,000 in funding from top venture capitalists and institutional investors in the US. Without much further ado, let me get on with it. Hi, Tarini. Welcome to Masters Decoded podcast series, the season 2. Really glad to have you.
Hi, Anise. Thank you so much for having me.
It's my pleasure to have you. And when I looked up your profile, pretty intrigued. Uh, the profile and as well as some research done on you. You are the youngest venture capitalist in the West Coast, which is again a very highly competitive space. Uh, so why being a venture capitalist and at that age?
Going back through my journey, well, when I was around 12 years old, I co-founded an Instagram account called Classy Women, where
Okay.
my role was to give women career advice,
Mm-hmm.
any advice that they really needed could be career advice, right to education, fighting gender discrimination, how to deal with domestic violence. It has over 1 million followers on Instagram
Wow.
and spanning over 10 countries: US, India, even Afghanistan, Malaysia, Bangladesh, Pakistan. And, I've been doing this for years. And, I think, going through all these messages has really, made me understand and empathize with a lot of women facing different issues around the world. And, that's where I got interested in helping more women to
Hmm.
begin with. And concurrently during that time, I co-founded I founded in a club at my school, an entrepreneurship club. This was back in middle school in eighth grade.
Okay.
Yeah, at my previous school. And basically, I would just, it was a group of around 25 students basically, and I put them into different teams, created 5 startups, and they had different ideas like a fingerprint lock for doors, an X-ray using phone, or tourist local guide with a small budget, etc. Different sort of issues, real life issues, and how to solve them. So I provided them guidance on how to come up with an idea, how to prototype it, how to analyze the target market, how to pitch to VCs, using Uber's open pitch deck.
Mm-hmm.
And learnings from that chapter where children like the sort of curriculum free learning, and it unleashes their creativity, and you can identify each person's strength and align their roles to that, and children learn in a step by step process. I think so. seeing um you know Seeing children, well, young people being interested in the entrepreneurship space, that led me to writing my first book, The Young
Wow.
Aspiring Entrepreneur. Yeah, so it talks about all the age, social, and gender biases faced in becoming an entrepreneur, and it guides you on how to overcome them. And like I said, kids learn in a step by step process. So the book shows you
Mm-hmm.
steps and problems you have to overcome to become an entrepreneur. And it's gotten a lot of quotes and foreword from Intel Capital, senior VP, Mr. Wendell Brooks, and
Mm-hmm.
from one of my great mentors have given a lot of my great mentors have given quotes for that book. Ray Lane, the ex-CEO and president of Oracle, um, and the managing partner of Great Point Ventures, the Stanford professor, Mr. Chuck Eesley, the
Mm-hmm.
professor of entrepreneurship, and just a bunch of people who've really been great mentors and supported my journey.
Wow.
Then I came across a quote by Warren Buffett. I made my first investment at age 11. I was wasting
Mm-hmm.
my life up until then. So that's actually what inspired me to create my venture capital fund. So basically, it was created to basically invest in other startups who have a
Okay.
passionate founding team, and helping people create technologies to be able to change the world. And the alarming statistic we've all seen in 2018, only
Hmm.
2.2% of venture capital funding went towards women. You know,
Hmm.
that alarming statistic really bothered me, and I was like, I should really do something about it. Since that more than 43% of publicly traded companies are venture capital backed, venture capital has a huge impact,
Hmm.
on driving many people's lives and, startups. Along with that, the World Economic Forum, they projected that at the current rate of progress, it'll take 208 years to reach gender equality in the US. And hearing Melinda Gates, how she pledged a huge $1 billion to further gender equality, right, and building power and influence of women across the United States in 2019. So, hearing that, listening to her talks and hearing what she has done, that really inspired me. I may have a small fund, but I definitely want to, be a part of this. See, venture capital funds new ideas. So if you fund companies with women in C-suite roles, you empower them to prove their strengths, show their capabilities, make their mark on the world, and illuminate the path for other women. And it's not just about investing in women; it's about investing in minorities and simply founders that are,
Hmm.
overlooked and ignored entirely, and ones that actually believe in their product and believe in changing the world.
Wow, wow, wow. So much is happening in your world, which is pretty impressive at that age which you are, Taarini. Uh, let's talk about the fundraising process. Uh, you know, it's not your money. You are basically asking somebody to trust your process, your instinct, as well as your company, that you'll be able to do justice to others' money. So, how did that process go about? Who? I'm sure you don't want to reveal who, but how did you go about raising that fund? I believe you have a $1 million goal for your fund, and you're pretty close to it. So, how did that process go about of
Yes,
actually raising the fund?
yeah, absolutely. So I've been attending a lot of conferences ever since, I was in eighth grade at that time. So, I've spoken at TiECon, I've spoken at the Collision Conference, I've spoken at the Women's March, I've given a TEDx talk, and I love meeting more people, networking, and simply hearing more people out. And with that being said, I've heard several no's. I've heard people look at me and be like, "You're a child. I don't know if I could trust you with that kind of money." And there are a lot of negative people that I face, but at the same time, I'm extremely grateful and honored to have LPs that I've found, and LPs that believe in me and believe in the company and believe in what I'm doing. That really means a lot to me. I'm forever grateful for that. So I've been very fortunate in that sense that I've been able to find people, especially like I said, Ray Lane from the quote of the book has been a great
Mhm.
mentor as well. Ashok Krishnamurthy, he's also the managing partner of Great Point Ventures, and he's been a phenomenal mentor as well. And I'm very lucky to have found people that really believe in my voice, my story, and everything. So I really appreciate that.
Being in the high school, correct me, that's where you are right now. How do you get time? Because education is important too. And while you are setting up your fund and raising capital for it, it's tough managing all of that. How do you go about, you know, manage different priorities?
Yeah, no, definitely. That's a great question. So, yeah, I'm in 11th grade, which a lot of high schoolers in the US know is a very crucial year with
Yep.
AP classes and SAT classes and everything. And I think the best answer I could give for that is time management. It's about using your time and allocating different. I give this answer to a lot of women in my class women account that ask me questions like, especially during COVID times, it's hard to manage your time and you feel unmotivated. So I use this and I give this answer as well. So basically, it's about managing your time, allocating a certain amount of time to finish a certain task, certain work, and make sure to take breaks and
Hmm.
stay, I guess, mentally stable at the same time. So it's just about that, and it's also about prioritizing. So for example, if next week if I have a math test, I'll focus on that. The week after I have to work on something related to my fund or classy women, I will make sure to finish that. It's just a game of that. Now with that being said, nobody is perfect. I want everyone to know that it's really difficult to manage everything, something that most adults can't do as well.
I
So with that
agree.
being said, yeah, definitely. So with that being said, nobody is like a guru, a great person at this, but it does come with practice. Some days it's hard, some days it's not hard, but you have to remember to keep, pushing through at the end of the day. That's all.
That's great. Some great advice to people like us who are grown-ups. So that's good to hear from you. Tharani, but I do see at that age also a lot of passion for artificial intelligence. You've been contributing a lot of articles on Forbes, as well as you've been featured in, as you said, in TEDx, where the center of topic is AI. Uh, how do you see AI, and is that going to be premise of companies you focus on, while women leadership and entrepreneurship is going to be at the heart of it? Is there going to be a lot of tech, and especially AI, be a center of focus in that?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I mean, in all the startups that I'm looking into, they're very tech focused, tech based. A lot of my sectors of interest, AI is definitely, AI is definitely one of the most important ones. And there's along with that, other than AI, I'm looking into any sort of technology based startups, cybersecurity, cloud native applications. But AI definitely is ruling the world. It's
Mhm.
everywhere, right? I mean, Facebook and Google how already use AI a lot. AI is like electricity. It's around
Yep.
us. It's everywhere. And AI can really, there are a lot of good female founded startups and minority startups that I've come across with AI. I can say that AI is definitely one of the most important focuses that we all should be focusing on and thinking about how it can better help us,
Hmm.
how it can better help our daily lives and fix a lot of problems, I think. You know, yeah, it can uplift mankind, it can help students learn a concept better. There are various forms of AI and,
Yep.
everything tying it all together, just it's an amazing tool that has to be utilized to its fullest.
But there is a lot of noise. There's a lot of smoke and mirrors also within the world of AI. I know you're still in the process of raising the fund for your own venture capital, but how do you judge the smoke and mirrors or the real true leverage of technology when you're evaluating or you're going to evaluate companies? Have you thought about that?
So, your question is how I evaluate companies. So,
Specifically when it comes to AI, because today there's a lot of smoke and mirrors when people say, "Oh, our product has AI," or "Our product is an AI-led product." How do you go about doing that?
well, I guess in your sense that I look at how much work the AI tool they really utilize, how much work the AI tool in their company really does. I think that's the core of the company in itself is a big important thing to look at. But along
Mhm.
with those factors, along with the revenue and all the, I guess, statistics and money related factors, the most one of the most important factors is also the founding team. How diverse is the founding team? There are many, I guess, factors that come into account when evaluating a startup, is even an AI startup, any startup for that matter. AI startups, you have to, I guess, look in another different angle altogether. I believe in the sense that, like you have to kind of understand and utilize and understand the tool that they're using and how they're using AI to benefit their company and driving revenue. However, like I said, the other factors are like the founding team. How strong is the founding team? How passionate is the founding team? Their experience with AI itself or the tool or in general,
Hmm.
and what value they're all adding, and how they work together is also a important thing to evaluate. Now, going back to how I evaluate startups in general, there's a formula I came up with while I was in the entrepreneurship club.
Hmm.
So basically, as I noticed, kids in general, we want like a simple, clear-cut formula. And basically, as I wrote in my book, Entrepreneurship Score, I created a simple formula to measure entrepreneurship. Um, Entrepreneurship score is equal to the wealth created times the impact times the customers times ethics. Wealth would just be the revenue. Impact is number of jobs. Customers would be, number of customers, ethics, diversity pay gap, any allegation of discrimination. So I guess all those factors really come in together to evaluate a startup. Now, with that being said, there's no quantitative. Well, you can measure this quantitatively, but I'd prefer not to. I take these factors into account. You know,
Okay.
um, all of these factors really come into account when evaluating startups.
Okay. Are there some companies you wish you would have invested earlier in them?
Yeah, so that's a good question actually. One of them is Andela. Andela is this great company, how they work. I've actually been able to interview one of their key members, Christina Sass, at one of my conferences. She's great. She's been a great mentor as well. So Andela, how the company works is it's based in Africa, I believe,
Hmm.
and they train a lot of software engineers and computer scientists back in Africa. And since it's very much in demand, the software engineering field, basically how it works is they find jobs over here and abroad in the States or anywhere else, and they take, I believe, 10% of their salary later on. But how I like it is because they're really creating an impact on the world and really helping people, and it's a phenomenal idea where it's both driving revenue and social impact at the same time. And even SpaceX at an early stage is pretty game changing companies. So
Yep,
just all of those companies would obviously be something that would have been under my interest for sure.
that's great. Let's talk a little bit about your personal life, which is family. Uh, how has family enabled or supported you on this journey?
Yeah, so both my parents were in the tech field. So when I was in first grade or so, I would hear in the dining table all the talks about new companies, new startups, new technologies that are arising in Silicon Valley, and I would get very interested in them early on. So I think that itself has contributed a lot towards my entire journey. My family, my parents have been very supportive of everything. Very they've been very open-minded and just happy with what I do. And they've just really helped, guide me in that sense and really kept me on track. And I'm really grateful for that, actually. Yeah, along with that, my friends have also been very supportive, my best friends and everyone. And they've been very kind and motivating as well. And, they were there, both of these people, my family and friends were there at the time when I was just a simple fifth grader with, no basic with no I guess with no fund, with no classy women, no entrepreneurship club. So since then, when I had the idea, they were still with me and they really believed in me, and I think it was their love and support as well that has really helped me become who I am today.
As you embark on this journey of uh, making your program or making your dream come through, which is through your fund, uh, do you foresee your parents contributing to that? When I say contributing, not monetarily, but guiding or being part of that journey.
So yes and no. So definitely I take everybody's advice and opinions into account when evaluating startups because I don't believe my opinion is the best or somebody else's opinion is the best. So I take a variety of opinions into account before investing in a startup. So definitely in that sense, I'll definitely ask them, and not just them, I'll ask my LPs, my mentors, everybody else as well before investing in a startup to get a third opinion, another perspective, different views. I think in that sense they've it's been really like that. It's been really good. And ever since I was a kid, my parents have been taking me to conferences like TiECon annually. So they've really been I guess um a guiding star in that sense. Ever since. So I hope to continue to going to conferences virtually as well this year. So they've always been guiding me, but I feel I have to make my mark in the investment world as well.
You've spoken a lot about mentors and a lot of people who've been mentoring you. Uh, what have you specifically looked at when you were looking at mentors?
Yeah, no, that's an interesting question. I think the main thing I would look at is, aligned passion.
Mhm.
Are they do they really believe in what I'm doing and their vision as well? Is it I guess is it similar in the sense that do they really believe in um simply do they believe in everything that I believe in as well, right? Whether it's investing in female founded startups or opinions on um, the tech gender gap, etc. And do they take kids seriously? I think I've had a lot of these mentors early on, and something I've really looked into is whether or not they take children seriously in the sense that they don't think, oh, it's just another kid, let's let it go. And I think the ones that really have really been great supporters throughout the journey.
What about women or girls like you who would love to start up their own VC firm? What would your advice be to them?
Well, one thing I would say is go for it. If it's something you really believe in and really think you can contribute to, I believe, you should definitely believe in yourself. That's the first thing I would say. Second thing I would say is go to several conferences. As a young person, you have a lot to value. You have a lot of opinions. Your opinion really does matter. It's unique. It's something that I think a teenager's opinion is something that I guess nobody else can have. So, when you really when you really attend conferences, really do talk to people and, create a story of yourself and really voice why you want to do this. Whatever it is you're doing, whether it's venture capital, entrepreneurship, or whatever field, you should really have like a why, a reason as to what pushes you every day to, do this.
Mhm.
Mine is to help more female founded startups and female founders and bend the tech gender gap. What is your reason into joining venture capital? Just make sure to voice that and talk about it. With that being said, you'll hear a lot of no's over the years, but make sure to really stay true to yourself.
On that note, Tari, this has been a wonderful conversation to have you on this show today. And thank you for talking your heart out. I could really feel that. Is there any parting thoughts which you would like to share with my listeners?
Sure, definitely. I think the main takeaways would be to believe in yourself, realize the importance that venture capital can have. So, if any teenagers or anybody at any age is really thinking about venture capital as a career, really do think about it. Age doesn't really matter in venture capital and entrepreneurship. And venture capital has a tremendous social and economic impact. I suggest teenagers, especially girls, to consider it as a career option. And I think one of the most important things is it is very important to speak up and voice your story. I think those are if there's something that people could remember from this talk, it would probably be those three things.
Cool. Tarini, thank you for taking time out. I'm not going to take much of your time because you're busy with your studies. I know it is spring break, but it is also time for recouping and understanding and planning your strategies on your fund. So thanks a lot for taking out time and really appreciate your thoughts and sharing your perspectives.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, and again, thank you so much for having me. And it's great that you're doing this. It's a great passion project, and I'm hoping it'll inspire a lot of people. And it's really great, honestly, that you're doing this. It's amazing. It's commendable.
Thank you for those kind words, Tarini. You have a good day and stay safe.
Thank you so much. Have a good day.
Thank you for listening in. and we close yet another episode of Masters Decoded. If you've enjoyed the episode, please you can help us out by sharing it on social media. I would personally appreciate that. It's how we can reach more listeners, and the more listeners we have, the more awesome guests I can get in touch and convince to participate in these conversations that are a joy to have for me, and I hope they are a joy for you to listen as well. You can also help a lot leaving reviews on iTunes or your podcast service of choice. Reviews are surprisingly helpful in supporting the podcast to get to more listeners. If this episode has intrigued you, I would request you to subscribe to the podcast to stay up to date and get notified to the future episodes. With that, I bid you and see you in the next episode.